Welcome back to HPP, the podcast that covers college basketball and the NBA draft inside and out. I am Rich Harris. Thank you for joining us again. Today I'm joined by Drew Barton and Doc Llewellyn, and Ayad Bunni will be joining us later, as will special guest Mojave King of the G League Ignite. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
I enjoyed the Super Bowl. I mean, I was extremely disappointed with the Eagles' defense. I was pulling for the Eagles, but I didn't really have too big of a horse in the race. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy. I just kind of like what the kid's made of. But that was quite possibly one of the most disappointing defensive efforts I can remember. Getting 40 piece by a quarterback on one leg with no sacks, no interceptions, no fumbles, and not having like one tackle for a loss in the second half was pretty pathetic given how loaded that roster is. But at least it was a good game offensively.
Doc, did you were you rooting for the Eagles?
Yeah, I'm a diehard Eagle fan.
Yeah,
but it's cool. I was mad, but I wasn't mad at the defense per se as everybody else is. I just feel like when you're going against one of the GOATs, he's going to soon be top 3 quarterbacks ever. Like our first Super Bowl when we played Tom Brady, he broke the record for most passing yards. We still won the game. The job was to score more points. And then even though they had 38 points, 7 of those came from a fumble 6 that Jalen Hurts started. And then the other 7 came from a Tony punt return. So I was like, if those things don't happen, then you don't know what this final score is. But yeah, the Eagles need to score more points. That's just it. You scored 24 in the first half and 11 in the second. You got to score more points when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. That's what Nick Foles did. He scored 41, and that was enough to beat Tom Brady. So hopefully next year, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Both teams have bright futures. Just by the way, just a quick update on Maverick. As you might have expected, he was fired from his job of piloting spy balloon. However, all is not lost because I've heard he's landed a job with the reality TV show Farmer Wants a Wife. So I'm not sure I don't know if he's playing the farmer or the wife. I'm not sure, but
I mean, he's out in Texas. He is out in Texas.
Yes. Hugh liked that joke because it's actually the show that is premiering on Fox is a spinoff on something that's been running in Australia for years. That's why I brought it up in the group.
Did Hugh pitch it? He was the mind behind it. We're gonna find out. He was like, I got a great idea. Americans will eat this up. Oh my God. I miss you.
Yes. I do as well. All right. So let's move on to our NBA chat. And there's certainly plenty to chat about. With Kevin Durant being traded for Phoenix, the question is, how far will the Suns go? What does this trade mean for KD's legacy? And did he make the right decision in leaving Brooklyn? So, gentlemen, Doc, start us off.
So, as we all know, Kevin Durant got traded to the Phoenix Suns. He did a quietly request trade. Unlike Kyrie made it known. KD did it very quietly. Nobody even known. So, KD gave his one team he wanted to go to, and in Brooklyn, that shipped him there. Kyrie, on the other hand, gave him the one team he wanted to go to. Sean Mark said, and Joe Tsai said, nope, we're going to send you to the Dallas Mavericks, So, hey, they respect KD more than they respect Kyrie. Clearly, they granted KD's wishes. Now, KD, you want to go to this team. They have Chris Paul. You don't have to lead there. You never want to be a leader. You just want to play basketball. You want to play with another guy who could get it going. That's Devin Booker. You even got a center that'll do the dirty work, get your rebounds and blocks from time to time to score. So you kind of got everything you KD ever wanted. You don't have to lead. All you got to do is play basketball. Same situation was in Golden State. Just play basketball. So now he has to win. Like there's no excuse. So if he doesn't win with the Phoenix Suns this year or even next year, because Chris Paul gonna keep getting older. So Chris Paul not gonna be the same Chris Paul probably by the playoffs this year. Last year he looked bad. This year he might be worse. Next year he might just he had to be backup because Chris Paul just not the same. He's not gonna score as much points, but he could be like a vocal leader. KD's time is to take over, win the West, no excuses. It should be no team better than you on paper, honestly. When you look at it, you're the best team on paper. Your defense probably not the best defensive team, but hey, when you got Devin Booker who scored 71 points in the game, you got KD who's renowned as one of the best scorers ever. Hey, you gotta win the game. There's no point, just outscore them. And you got good enough defense. KD is an underrated defender, and when what's the center name? DeAndre Ayton wants to play defense. He could play good paint defense protection. So he is in a must-win situation. And if he don't win, I think it was definitely tarnish his legacy even more. I think he should be taken out the top 15 automatically if he don't win with the Suns. Because I look at the championships he won with Golden State. Right now, they count. But if he retires with just those two, people look back and be like, yeah, they don't really count as much. They don't really mean as much as if he should have won in Brooklyn or OKC or now the Phoenix Suns. So the right decision leaving Brooklyn is, I don't think it was the right decision, only because I think he could have still won in the East. I think his team in Brooklyn would be better than the team in the Phoenix Suns, only because the Suns don't have no bench now. They have no defense, no real lockdown defender now. And Chris Paul is getting older. DeAndre Ayton wants out. By the end of the season, DeAndre Ayton might not be there next season. He never wanted to be there this season. So we never know how that team could look at the in 4 months from now. So I think he should have stayed in Brooklyn, honestly, with Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and make that team work.
Yeah, I mean, this is, in my opinion, like, I'm a Warriors fan, so I got to enjoy those Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond years. But I mean, I think legacy-wise, I think Doc's right. I think Durant's hovering that 15 to 20 all-time range. I think fundamentally, regardless of what happens, I think he can't get any higher. Unless the Suns go on some crazy dynastic run and win 3 in a row, or the first three-peat we've seen since the Kobe Shaq Lakers, he can't go any higher. You have made it very clear that you are moody, and it's not even just like, I want to hoop, but I'm like, yeah, but you only want to hoop with other guys who you view as somewhat equals. Chris Paul's, Devin Booker's, DeAndre Ayton's. You don't just want to like pick up a really solid squad that doesn't have another star, but has great pieces and make that happen. You want to run out to the West, so you can go team up with Devin Booker and Chris Paul and Ayton. It's kind of old, and like I'm now kind of on the other side of that fence. I had the rose-tinted goggles on when he was with the Warriors. Just like, it's fine, it's beautiful basketball, and it was like I think that was some of the best basketball we've seen in the NBA, and just in terms of offensive identity and ball movement. But now it's getting to the point where I'm like, dude, look at the players you've played with. At this point, you have your own all-star roster in terms of past teammates, whether that's Harden, Russ, Clay, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Steph. I mean, it's just getting a little bit ridiculous now. So I think legacy-wise, I think 15 is the highest he can go unless they go on some crazy run, which won't happen. Because going to my next point, this team, I think, yes, their ceiling is the NBA Finals. I think realistically, this is a team that will get to the Western Conference Finals. And then you're going to have the Chris Paul classic hamstring pull. DeAndre Ayton, like Doc said, doesn't want to be there. He sure as hell is not going to want to be there when now it's, hey, you might only get 6 shots a game. Yeah. But we expect you to defend the rim, rebound, do all the dirty work, and you're going to get no offensive love because that hierarchy is very well established. You have a ball-dominant point guard who is a great playmaker but needs the ball in his hands. You have Devin Booker, who is looking to put shots up. That's what he does. You got Durant, who, while he's not a selfish player, is going to need to get his 15 looks a game. So what does that leave for Ayton? They have no bench depth. So, good luck winning playoff series when Chris Paul goes down or D-Book goes down, and you're bringing guys who you can't count on. And that's what we kind of saw happen with Brooklyn is Kyrie wasn't reliable, and Harden was, pulls his hamstring in the playoffs, and now he's complaining, I don't have any help. It's like, well, you do, but injuries happen, man. It's part of the sport. You can't have your backup point guard be Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving. That's never going to happen. Like, it feels like he wants to build this lineup where he's like, I have Kyrie, Steph, Clay, LeBron, Draymond. That's not how basketball works. It's not fantasy basketball. And I think Durant's trying to play fantasy basketball. So I'm going to say he made the wrong decision. I mean, Doc's right. Look, I get it. He doesn't care about his legacy. That's fine. But there's thousands upon thousands of basketball people who do, and you're not going to get the credit you deserve. And you say you don't care, but then get off Twitter and don't argue back and forth with fans. So I think it was a soft move. I think short term, the Suns win. You got a top 15, top 20 talent. Like, you win that trade. And you didn't give up any of your star players. But if you look at that Nets roster, they got younger. They added legitimate pieces. And if that team can somehow go poach, whether it's in free agency, via trade, a star who's willing to be there and commit, that's a pretty good lineup that I'm looking at. Ben Simmons at the 1, you got Dinwiddie at the 2, Bridges at the 3, who was a defensive player of the year runner-up. I think Cam Johnson is extremely underrated as just a really solid NBA piece. 14 a game, 4 or 5 boards, shoots the 3 well, 47% from the field.
Got a lot of shooters. I mean, you got Seth and Joe Harris.
We've all talked about Claxton, and we like what he's turning into. I think Daron Sharp has potential. Cam Thomas is kind of turning into a really great offensive plug-and-play piece. So, yeah, I'm going to say the Nets overall win this trade. Now, if the Suns win a championship this year, they won't care, but I don't see it happening.
I agree. Nets won the trade. Definitely want to be on that side of that trade. And I don't even think the Suns are going to win the Western Conference Finals, let alone the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
All right. So there were 16 total trades at the deadline. Are there, of those trades, any interest you? Any you thought were like really good, or what the heck? Did you like any of those? Is there one particular trade that stands out to you that you were, thought was really good or really bad, or maybe one of each? Doc?
Milwaukee getting Jay Crowder was big for them. They didn't really need too much, but another player like Jay Crowder on a team that already got championship aspirations, that was a big pickup for them. It was only 2 guys who could really change the landscape of the East, and that was getting Jay Crowder or Bogdanovich, because Bogdanovich stayed with the Pistons. Jay Crowder ended up with Milwaukee Bucks after a trade. I think they traded 4 second-round picks. How many second-round? They traded something crazy like that for Jay Crowder, but he's going to help their team. All he has to do is play defense and hit corner threes. That's all you got to do, man. That was a low-key big pickup for them. I think even another pickup good was the Clippers when they got Bones Highland. I think he might be like a good 6-man come with the bench potentially in the future. Bones is he talented. Like, he's from Delaware, so on Bones, and they might get Westbrook in a buyout. So just keep an eye up on the Clippers. But yeah, those 2 teams, the Lakers move was also overrated. The Lakers did scam teams, though. Don't get me wrong. They scammed 2 teams. They got away with scamming how they ended up with D'Lo. That was a scam. They scammed Minnesota, but that move doesn't make their team. I don't think it put them over the top. Like, right now, they still losing. Like, LeBron is out, they still lose. They lost yesterday. So I don't even know. They might be in a play-in. They're not in a play-in right now. So we see the Lakers going to run. But they just so injury-prone team. And I don't know where the Lakers is at right now. I got to see them actually go on a 5-game win streak for me to say, the Lakers are going to be a threat. The players on the team look nice. Getting Russell, getting Rui. But some reason when they all play together for the Lakers, they just not looking right. Like, yesterday was a prime example how they just lost. Like, it wasn't like, I don't know. The Lakers, I just need when LeBron get back, let's see how the team is. But yeah, don't feed those 2 teams. Clippers getting Bones was underrated, and so was Milwaukee's move getting Jay Crowder.
Yeah, I'm with Doc. I thought the Jay Crowder pickup was super sneaky, especially because it came a part of like the Durant trade. So, all that was happening and everyone's seeing Kevin Durant and Bridges and Cam Johnson. I thought that was a super good pickup because, Doc's right. He does what they need. He's a gritty player. He's been in the playoffs. He was just in the NBA Finals multiple times not that long ago because he was on that Heat team, I believe, in the bubble. And then he was there, obviously, when the Suns lost to the Bucks. I love that pickup. I think you look at that trade and it's like you almost want to say the winners are the Bucks out of the teams involved, just because it's the right piece at the right time. He's fresh. He hasn't, been playing this season. I agree too with Doc. I like the Lakers. I think on paper the Lakers moves make a lot of sense, but it hasn't panned out yet. I mean, you look at it on paper, you're going, you got rid of Westbrook, which was becoming some form, whether you hated him, loved it, whatever it was. I just think it wasn't working, and you replaced him with D'Angelo Russell. You've got Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. I'm a Zags guy, so Rui, I'm always rooting for him. So I think you look at those 4 players and go, oh, they might make a run. It hasn't come to fruition yet. I know there's reports that LeBron's injury is a lot worse than we're hearing, that it's actually bad and he's like constantly dealing with it throughout the season. So I like their moves, but it might be too little too late. And I think there is something to be said about basketball takes on more importance and more intensity when you wear purple and gold and you're inside Staples or what is it, the Crypt now? Like, I think that does matter. Not everybody's built for that. So, yeah, Vanderbilt and Beasley might have looked great on the Wolves at times, but can you do that with the pressure with LeBron? Can you do that with the pressure of being a Laker? Maybe not. And then a trade that the more I hear about it, the more I'm wary of it. Has got to be my Golden State Warriors swinging a move for Gary Payton. We had talked about it, Rich. I know you and I talked about it way back when, saying we love what Payton brings to the table. He fits for that team. He almost has like a Draymond-esque kind of vibe to him. But hey, the money he was demanding and being offered was just too much. What do? You get him back, give up all of those picks and James Wiseman. And I just think it's a massive overpay for a guy that we're hearing might miss the next 3 months. So are you conceding this year's run? Like, are you saying we're not making a title push?
But even if you are, how old is Peyton? How old is Peyton, for God's
sake? Late 20s. He's got to be in his late 20s. Right. He's been hanging around a while, so he's 20. I think he's like 27, 28.
That was the head scratcher for me. It's like, what the hell?
I did not like. Look, has Wiseman been disappointing up to this point through injuries, through play? Absolutely. But I think anyone who knows basketball, and I'm talking to two guys who do, I think we all kind of expected, like, well, yeah, Wiseman was never, unless he immediately, like, some came out and was just dominant from the rip, he was never going to be able to assert himself to the level we'd like to see, to the level his class, his draft classmates are. Anthony Edwards went to the Timberwolves and kind of de facto became the alpha in a matter of a year. St. LaMelo went to the Hornets and then de facto was the alpha right off the rip. Wiseman was coming to a team where, in terms of pecking order, leadership, respect, responsibility, he wasn't just behind the big three, but he was behind all these Wiggins and all these other guys who were coming in, veteran players like Iguodala. So it just, Jordan Poole has ascended. So I think they gave up on him very early, and it's a team that doesn't have size. I think Looney is the most underrated big in the league, just kind of top to bottom in terms of what he does. After him, they are so small, especially with Wiggins battling injuries this year, who was kind of playing that hybrid the dual forward position. And you just gave him up for a guy that's probably not playing for you this year, who's older, and at the end of the day is a 6'2" like wing who doesn't really who does the small things well, but doesn't have a bankable elite skill. Maybe defense, but how long is that going to last with his age? At least with Draymond, yeah, he's the defender and a playmaker, but he became the defender he was 5-6 years ago. So you got an 8 to 10 year run of elite Draymond Green defense. You might get another 2 or 3 seasons out of Gary Payton. And that's if this core muscle injury isn't something that impedes him.
And you're also getting him at a contract you didn't want to pay him for in the first place.
Exactly. And you're paying him substantially more than I think he's worth, and that you openly admitted he was worth. You let him go because you're like, I'm not paying you that much. So it was a head scratcher. I didn't like it. I think, yes, has Wiseman been a bust? No doubt. Is Wiseman probably going to be a better basketball player when it's all said and done than Gary Payton? I'm pretty confident in saying that. That's a yes. So that's the one where I wasn't a fan of.
Yeah, that's interesting. Come from a Warriors fan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a realistic Warriors fan. I know Gary Payton's a fan favorite, but like I said, 6'2" guard who's not old, but like, his prime is going to be shorter just because of his career arc. And it's like, teams are going to adjust. He was kind of the shock trooper that came in, and people are like, holy crap, Gary, where did you come? Now teams know what Gary Payton does. They know how to plan for him.
And he's at his ceiling.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. Last year's playoff run was his peak. Can he do that again for a year-long stretch? I just don't know. I don't know.
On paper, I thought, for the record, I thought the Lakers did well on paper. I don't know. I'm interested in the Pirtle trade. Toronto definitely needed a true center, I thought. So interesting. All right, we got one more topic.
Can this one be done in 10 minutes? We got 10 minutes. Can we do this one in 10 minutes?
LeBron breaks the scoring record. Is he officially the GOAT? Doc?
Listen, man. You know, the scoring record. Congratulations to LeBron. He brought the scoring record by just like what 1 point. He scored exactly 36 points. Next thing you know, he's injured. He hasn't played since he broke the record. He's been partying, enjoying the time of his life. The GOAT. Everybody want to nominate him as the GOAT. You know what they do, man. If this was anybody else other than LeBron James, let's say this is Westbrook breaking a longevity record of assists. You know what they would say? They would say, "Oh no, just longevity. He played more
Played
games.
a long time." Yeah.
You know, but when it comes to LeBron, oh, longevity. Whew, the fact that he could even play that long is amazing. Listen, one thing about LeBron is that he's going to have more stats than everybody. We know this, okay? He doesn't, I give him props. He take care of his body great. But when you compare generations to each other, you can't compare. Doctors always change from 10 years plus 10 years. Doctors 10 years from now might be different from when LeBron James has it right now. So when you compare Magic Johnson, Larry Bird to Kobe and LeBron James now, you only could go based off of what did they do their first 10 years. Like let's put what you did in your prime. Let's rate you guys based off of what you did your best 10 years from rookie year to your 10th year, and let's see what you did. And that's how you rank top 10 players. You can't rank past that because generations, these guys used to go through wars. You know, you see these documentaries where you see Larry Bird nose bleeding every game. He fall on the floor. Larry Bird's out the league by 90 for 1990. 89, 89, he kind of got like a little washed up. 90, and then he played on the Dream Team, but he was washed up by the Dream Team. He came in 1980. So that's only 10 years. So that's not really fair when you really compare generations. And when you think about LeBron, he's top 5 in every category, correct? He's not the best assist man ever, John Stockton. He's not the best scorer ever, Michael Jordan. He's not even. If we was to list down top 5 scorers personally, who we think is a top 5, we probably wouldn't name LeBron as the top 5 scorer. You know, the points in history don't really matter. So he's not the GOAT. Honestly, I feel like even him being stamped number 2 ever is cap. I know he's not even. I think Magic Johnson, Jabbar, Shaq, they could arguably be over him. But if you put LeBron over him, I'm not gonna. This is cool, but I feel like LeBron James is in that 2 to 6 anywhere. Like I won't. It depends how you judge it and how you look at it. But Jordan's the GOAT number 1. This is the debate should be is just dumb. Like Jordan's number 1. There's no other Michael Jordan. Just keep in there, you know. And that's how I feel about LeBron James. You know, I like LeBron. I just don't like people overrate LeBron. You know. That's just how I feel. You can't put him to go just off his stats alone. When you watch the game, he had a lot of bad losses. A lot of bad. He underachieved everywhere he went. I'm a hurry. I won't do this in 30 seconds. He underachieved everywhere he went. Cleveland, he's been in Cleveland for about 15 seasons. He was with them, eight seasons, and then 3 seasons later on, he won 1 championship. You underachieved there. You're supposed to be the chosen one. You're supposed to win more than 1 championship in Cleveland. You had some good teams. I don't want to hear that the earlier teams was bad. Okay, y'all was number 1 seed like 3 years when you was with that first year Cleveland season. How bad was the team? Y'all was number 1 seed in the East. Then when you went to Miami, you said you was going to win 4 championships. You won 2 out of 4. And you should have lost another one, but they didn't put Tim Duncan to catch a rebound, whatever. Ray Allen saved your life. We're going to give you that championship. Then you won a bubble championship. If you take out that bubble year in LA, the Lakers got a bad record. I think their record is, I forgot what their record was, but their record is under 500 if you take out that bubble year. So that he about to miss 3 years playoffs in LA. He missed the first year, the third last year, and I think this would be the third year he missed the playoffs. Yeah, so you underachieved in LA. If you wasn't, even if you make the playoffs and lose first round, you still underachieved. So hey, that's how I look at it. This will be the third year, and you lost first round, I believe, because it's Phoenix Suns. So that's how, he's not the GOAT. I'm sorry,
man. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. So he gets it. No, seriously, like I've always said that's been my thing. My brother's a LeBron. Rich, and we talked about this. My brother's a LeBron guy. I'm a Jordan guy. And I do think Kareem gets disrespected in this argument every single time. I'm totally with Doc. Kareem has as much acclaim to number 2 all time as LeBron does. I don't understand. People, they look at the LeBron and the story, the arc. He's a great guy. I get all that. But it's like, take the 10-year period where you were at your best. You were the best, where you could claim you were the best basketball player on the planet. Because that's what we're doing. We're talking about the GOAT. Like, you have to nitpick these arguments. And Doc said it great. LeBron's 10-year period, sure, you can, he's got 3 10-year periods. Okay, that's great. But he underachieved at all of them. Like, if all you're looking at is, well, he scored a lot of points, grabbed a lot of rebounds, and dished out a lot of assists. Okay, fantastic. I'm a huge Tom Brady guy. I'm also aware that Tom Brady has records that will probably never be broken, because there's going to be guys who I don't want to play for 40 until I'm 45. If Patrick Mahomes plays till he's 45, there's a good chance Patrick Mahomes matches, breaks, or gets close to all those records just on playing. That's just what it is. And so, I also think that people, when we get to this point, have to nitpick. Oh, LeBron went to 10 straight finals, whatever it was. Who did he play in the East? Who did he play in the East? Because I know Jordan was going to war against the 86 Celtics, who are arguably one of the greatest teams ever, the bad boy Pistons, the Shaq Penny Magic. I mean, LeBron's over here beating up on I beat the Hornets, led by Gordon Hayward.
Before you even get any faster with the East, right? I always say this about the East. They overrate this is what the NBA, I shouldn't say this, but listen, this is what the media does. They overrate those East teams to make LeBron's legacy better. His rivalry was against the Chicago Bulls, right? That was 1 year because D-Rose tore his ACL. Yeah. 1 year. And mind you, that Chicago Bulls team was not that good. It was just D-Rose and a bunch of defenders. Okay. As soon as D-Rose got injured, all those guys became bums. Now, next rivalry, the Indiana Pacers. Like I said, by Indiana, as soon as Lance Stevenson went to Charlotte, what happened? Turned to a bum. They overrate, they played the role of these. Roy Hibbert was out the league basically too after that. They boosted up all these guys' profiles when they went against LeBron because they pushed that Miami Heat team. Don't get me wrong, because they pushed those teams because LeBron James wasn't that type of superstar where he just blows out teams. He goes through deep runs, which to make it seem like it's a hard task, because he's not that type of player. He's patient, so it just so many overrated series where if Jordan played those Indian players, he probably would have swept them. If based off the team, if Jordan would have played, well, let's say it would have been Jordan, Clyde Drexler, and let's just say Charles Barkley at that time. Oh, give me a third-ranked power forward because Chris Bosh was like a top 5 power forward at that time. So it's like you didn't play nobody, bro. Like, just stop.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And like Durant, he's always tried to customize the team around him.
He plays fantasy basketball,
which was never something that was done in the past. So I'm going to close this argument. First of all, MJ is the GOAT, and that's all there is to it. I won't listen to anything else. But what I find interesting is we have to remember LeBron didn't play college, so he went straight into the pros. He has 4 titles. Kareem played 4 years of college, won 3 titles in college and 6 in the NBA. And if you add his college points to his NBA points, he has more points and still has more points than LeBron.
And his freshman year, he couldn't play varsity. So he probably would have won 4 titles in a row in college basketball. There's a reality where Kareem's got 10 NCAA/NBA titles. Look, Kareem gets disrespect in this argument. MJ's the GOAT. If you want to have LeBron at number 2, that's fine. But just be aware of, like Doc said, 10-year peaks is what I look at. And you got to nitpick. You got to look at the competition. Beating up DeMar DeRozan is not as impressive as beating Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, and Dennis Rodman in any world. And if you argue against that, you're an idiot.
All right, gentlemen, we got to call it a night. It was great seeing you. We'll see you back next week. I don't know what we'll be talking about, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. Any final thoughts before we leave, Doc?
Can't wait to talk about Kyrie and Luka, the combination, how the Dallas Mavericks is looking. So far, this is Valentine's Day, folks. So far, it looks like they're 0-2 together. They're 0-2 together, so let's see what happens.
Right. And we could talk about Farmer, how Maverick's doing on Farmer Wants a Wife. which premieres on Fox March
Oh,
8th. Maybe that'll be the sponsor of our podcast.
that's amazing. I can't wait to watch. Send me the link.
All right, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day.
All right. See ya.
All right, bye-bye. Our special guest this week is Mojave King, one of the top non-college NBA draft prospects. Mojave is playing this season for the G League Ignite squad for the full season. The 6'5" guard leads the team with 36 games played, ranks second on the club with 42 three-pointers made, while shooting 33% from deep, 76% from the foul line. This weekend, he will be a part of the NBA All-Star Weekend, having been selected to participate in the Jordan Rising Star Games. That is games, right, Mojave? There's multiple games?
I'm actually not sure. I haven't seen how they're doing it this year. I know last year it was a couple games, but all I've seen so far this year is the team, so I don't know yet.
Okay. All right. So thank you for joining us. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're in Vegas right now?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas.
Okay. How's the weather?
It's snowing today, which is super weird.
Oh, wow. No way. Oh.
Yeah, we walked out of practice and everybody was like, is it snowing? Yeah, it's like raining a little bit, snowing a little bit. It was super weird.
Huh. I'm in the mountains in Jersey, in northern Jersey, and I'm wearing short sleeves today, running around, no coat on. Go figure. All right. So you've had a very intriguing journey, and you're still only 20 years old. But by the way, I have some hoodies that are older than you. But anyway, you were born in New Zealand, and after high school, you turned down offers from schools such as Arizona and Baylor. Then you attended the NBA Global Academy, which is located in Australia. You started playing professionally at the age of 17, I believe. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
And you played 2 seasons in the Australian NBL and 1 season New Zealand NBL, and now you're in the G League. So what has that journey been like?
It's been a crazy journey. It's kind of just, it's going by quick. Like when you say it like that, it sounds like a lot, but I still remember before I signed my first pro contract, I was in LA just working out. I'd already decided like what I wanted to do, like as much as going like that pro route instead of college.
Right.
But yeah, I was just working out. I didn't know like what I was about to walk into, but like, yeah, it's been a fun journey so far.
So, your family you come from a basketball family. I believe your father played professionally, coached professionally, and I think your mother also played professional, or not professionally, but in college, I believe.
Yeah, my mom played in college, and my older sister also played as well.
Right.
So everybody in my family.
Right. So it's a basketball family. Were they in favor of you taking this alternative route?
I think they were. My dad has had a lot to do with my basketball journey. He's been my coach my whole life, and I've always kind of gone to him for advice and when I need his opinion on things. But I worked, with him and my agent like a lot throughout the decision-making process. And yeah, in the end, we decided that was what I was going to do, what I wanted to do, help me get to my goal.
So did you ever come close to going to Arizona or Baylor or anything like that?
Yeah, I was really close. I went on 2 official visits to colleges. So I was considering it. When I went there, I was like imagining myself there. I was trying to, see if I could see myself going to either of those schools. But yeah, it was definitely something that I was considering.
Okay. And how much do you miss home? I know there's been, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, but it might still be a problem. I know there was a lot of terrible flooding in New Zealand. So how much do you miss home? And is everybody back home and your friends and family, everyone okay?
Yeah, I have seen that in New Zealand as well. So hopefully everything's all good for everyone there. But when I think of home, I think of Brisbane. That's where I kind of grew up in Australia my whole life. I moved there I moved from New Zealand to Australia when I was 3 or 4, and then lived in Brisbane the majority of that time before I went to the academy. So,
and that's where your folks live? Yeah,
my dad lives in Canberra now, which is the capital of Australia, but my mom and my sister still live in Brisbane.
Okay. All right, cool. One of our former hosts who now works for the Milwaukee Bucks, He grew up in Australia.
Really?
It's Australian. So my last question before I pass you over to Bunny is about the Global Academy. I believe you played with a friend of ours, Santiago Vescovi, who was on this past summer.
Yeah.
You played with him, and you played with Josh Giddey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you played with another guy I'm familiar with, but probably not a ton of people are. And I'm not sure. It's Ali Khalifa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's at Charlotte. He was actually injured recently, but I just noticed he's healthy again. So yeah. So how much do you stay in touch with those guys?
Some more than others. Like Santi, he wasn't there too long when I was there. He was kind of just there for the last couple months before he went off to college. So I remember playing against him a lot more than playing with him, because he was always playing for Latin America, their academy,
Right.
and I was playing for Global. So we would always be going at it. It was kind of like always the other academy that gave us the most trouble. So I remember playing against him a lot. But yeah, I remember living with him a little bit as well. And who else did you say? Ali? Yeah, Ali's my guy. He was
Ali
there
and
all the
John,
time.
and you good friends with him?
Ali, yeah, I'm pretty close to Ali. I was on FaceTime with him just a couple weeks ago. A lot of my one of my teammates here, Efe Obogidi.
Yes.
He's a lot closer with him. But yeah, Josh Giddey, I'm probably the closest with out of those.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass you over to Bunny.
Hey,
All right,
Mojave, thanks for talking with us, man.
No worries.
Now, are you in Auckland?
Right now?
Yeah.
I'm in Las Vegas right now.
No, are you from Auckland originally?
Oh, no. I'm from a small town called Dunedin. It's in the South Island. So not many people have even heard of it.
Yeah. The reason I asked, I have some family out in New Zealand. So a few summers ago, I went to Christchurch and Queenstown, and it's beautiful out there, man. Love it a lot.
Yeah, it's not too far from Queenstown.
Okay.
Kind of down in that area. Yeah.
You played in 3 different professional leagues. How would you compare it?
How would I compare all of them?
Yeah. Want to step up in competition? Did you just your whole experience based?
Right. The NBL in Australia is a super like physical, like no spacing. Oh, well, there is not much space. There is spacing, but like there's not much space on the court. There's no defensive 3 seconds. So there's always someone like right under the rim whenever you're trying to drive or move. So it's really hard to get good movement, and there's no really easy buckets in the NBL. It's like you really have to work for everything, and to get a good shot, you have to run a pretty good offense.
Do they have the hand checking rule still there in the NBL?
Kind of. I'm not exactly sure what the hand checking rule is, but it's pretty physical. It's a physical league. And the refs let it play. So it's a lot of fun, but it's really tough to score is the biggest thing that I noticed. It's a lot easier to score over here, but just because of that defensive 3 seconds, I think is the biggest difference. The big has to get out of the paint. They can't just sit at the rim protecting it the whole shot clock. But this game is way faster than Australia. That was the first thing I noticed, is just how up and down it is. You have to get back in D-trans or else they're just going to run you off the floor. Everyone here can shoot. Super annoying. Like dudes who are like low on the scout list will just hit like 4 threes in the first half. You got to change everything up. And then also another difference is the game feels so much longer over here. Just with the extra 2 minutes each quarter actually makes a really big difference. I remember my first ever game here. It was against Metropolitans 92.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the end of the first half, and I looked up at the score, and it was like 75-70. I was like, that was the first half? And I was tired. I went back to the locker room. I was in my locker, like slumped over. But the game just feels super long over here. And then in New Zealand's a little bit of a step down from Australia, I'd say, but it is still a really good league. It's getting better as well. There's a lot of guys who play in Australia, and then because the New Zealand league runs at a different time, they go to New Zealand to play in that league just to, stay fit, make a little bit of extra money, and just, work on things, I guess. But those New Zealand teams are pretty much made of, like, their main players are, Australian players or top New Zealand players, and then a couple imports. Those are like the starting five of most teams over there. So it's similar to Australia, but just maybe a little bit of a step down.
Gotcha. You played a lot of minutes last year in New Zealand, averaged 18 per game. What do you think the biggest success? I mean, what was the key to your success? Pick and roll, transition, isolation. What do you think really did it for you?
I think the biggest thing for me was just, having the ball in my hands.
Yeah.
The coach believing in me. I was just feeling confident. My teammates believed in me. I just came in. I remember I finished my season in Adelaide in Australia, flew to New Zealand, trained one day, and then played the next day, my first game. So I wasn't overthinking anything. It wasn't the offense or anything like that. It was just playing free. Kind of going back to how I felt when I was playing growing up, just playing free, being aggressive and things like that. In Australia, the role I had to play for the team was a little bit different. So I didn't really feel like I could showcase as many things as I wanted to. But then going to New Zealand, I kind of got a bit more of a green light just to go out there and show what I can do.
That's awesome, man. You mentioned in an interview finding your teammates is something you wanted to incorporate more into your game. Do you prefer? And I was looking at your stats, and you've always had a positive assist to turnover ratio. Do you prefer having the ball in your hand or playing off the ball?
It really depends. To me, I'd say I prefer having the ball in my hands a little bit more, but making the transition to pros, I've had to learn to play without the ball a lot more. So I've gotten a lot more used to it now. I think this season, especially just in the G League, I've really worked on becoming like an elite level cutter. And that's something that I've tried to make a strong point in my game instead of just, needing the ball all the time, playing out of pick and rolls, playing in transition. I feel like playing in transition before becoming a professional was probably my biggest strength. And now it's just, something that I can do, but isn't like my biggest strength anymore. I feel like I've worked on a lot of other things and brought them up to that level as well.
Now, before I hand it back to Rich, Ignite right now is 9th in the West, 3 games back, 2 months left in the season. What gives you confidence that your very, very young team can make that push and get in the postseason?
I think that we're going to be, I think we're going to be fine. I think, you said really, really young team. It doesn't really feel like a really, really young team anymore. In that first little part of the season before the showcase, at times it did feel like we was a bunch of teenagers out there playing. But now it just feels like a professional team. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone kind of knows their role. Everyone's, just doing whatever we can to help the team win. And we really want to win. Like it's not just about trying to get guys drafted and things like that, what people might think. It's like when we lose a game, like everybody's in the group chat, like, man, like trying to fix things, trying to like say this and that. I need to be better at this, like holding each other accountable and things like that. Like this team really wants to win. And I think we'll be able to. I think with the experience that we've gotten so far this year, that we'll be able to. And guys have stepped up. We've had a lot of injuries and things like that. The last road trip we was just on in Dallas and Austin, we had like 8 players, but like dudes was stepping up and we was competitive. We only won 1, but we was competitive in the other 2 and we was fighting hard. So it's really good to see.
That's awesome.
So what after the season? What's gonna transpire then? You stay in the States?
I'm not sure yet. Hopefully I get to go home for a little bit. I haven't been home in a long time, it feels like. So it'd be nice to go back, see my mates and family for a little bit. But, ultimately I'm trying to achieve my goals in basketball. So that's kind of my priority. So wherever I got to be to work towards that is what I'll be doing.
But you don't right now. You're not sure where you're going to be training leading up to the combine.
Not exactly sure yet. No.
Okay. And have you are you gonna, some people like maybe like, the higher ups, and I've noticed a lot of big Ignite guys don't, test out. Is there a reason for that, or they already just test you out and they already know those numbers, so there's no reason to?
Don't test out. What do you mean by that?
Vertical, all the shuttle drills and the 3/4
Oh.
sprint and all that good stuff. And some Ignite guys don't play either on the 5-on-5.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be or not be doing. But Ignite is a great program for preparing you for everything that you're going to be going through. We already do, practice all those drills, the lane agility, vertical jump, full course shuttle. We had the dudes that run the test over in Chicago come to Las Vegas and set it all up in our practice facility. So we are prepared for it. And they have guys that used to do interviews for NBA teams come in and do like practice interviews for us, so we know what to kind of expect and how to answer it. And they give us, tips and things like that. They had us doing the mental, like, cognitive test or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that was the worst one for real. That was like 45 minutes of just constant thinking and like pressured thinking too. That was a tough one. But yeah, Ignite, they're gonna prepare you for sure for whatever you're gonna be facing in that pre-draft.
Right. And I would assume, that the NBA is probably, they have easier access to you than probably anyone. So they probably don't necessarily need to see you play 5-on-5 or go through the testing or whatever. But anyway, so what, on a personal note, what do you do on your downtime? What do you do for fun?
Downtime? Well, back in Australia, I was pretty into golf. That's what I was doing a little bit.
Right.
So I was going to like the driving range. I was going to a couple of short courses, and I was doing that. But over
What do you
here,
play to? What
do
do you
I
play
what?
to? What do you play to? What's your handicap? You got one?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm not good, but
Gotcha.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But over here, there's a lot of young guys, so we just hang out. We go to the mall, do just regular stuff. We play PlayStation together. We literally just chill together because we're all, similar age, and we just like hanging around each other.
Right. So what does poor Eric Mika do? Does he go to the old age home for?
Nah, Mika's one of us, man. Mika's hanging out with us for sure, and his son. He brings his little baby around and stuff. The boys.
Oh, is he married? Is he married? Has children?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool. All right. Last question. And this is the most important one. Obviously, I want to know which is the bigger honor, you being part of the Jordan Rising Stars or coming on this show?
For sure. For sure.
Just a little joke. We like to joke around here. So Mojave, it was great having you on. I really appreciate your time, and maybe we can talk again, maybe as you get closer to the draft process, if possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let us know how you're doing, and or I might bump into you at the combine too. So yeah, that's another possibility. Anyway, it was fun. I appreciate it, and we wish you all the best.
Yeah. Root for you, Mojave. Be following you, buddy. Good luck, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much.
All right.
So I got to say, that was one of the more fun interviews we've ever done.
Yeah, he was great. A lot of perspective. Very, very nice. Very open.
Yeah. And I actually, I'm sorry, I cut you off. I didn't hear the end.
No, all I say is like he got a new fan here.
Yeah. Nice young man. Fun too.
He was.
I actually had to ask if he was automatically in the draft. The context of Ignite, because if you play in Europe, even if you're of age, you don't have to you don't have to until you reach I guess 22, you don't have to be in the draft. So if you're in Europe, you just don't say anything, and then when you hit 22, then you're automatically in. And so I thought,
Sure.
since he was a international guy, that would still apply to him. But apparently, no. If you're of an age and you play for Ignite, you're automatically in the draft. So
I like the jersey. That was a hell of a game.
yeah, that's what I was about to ask. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? I think we talked about this before.
I really did.
Yeah, it was a really good game.
It was really, really, really good game, man. It went back and forth. They were down at half. Mahomes came back, utilized the whole team. Running game got going. It was awesome. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, and for those who don't, obviously you can't see me, so I've been a lifelong Chiefs fan, and I'm wearing a Chiefs jersey, and I'm also wearing a ball cap, and it's very scary how much I look like Andy Reid wearing this jersey. All righty.
Think of that. Good one.
Well, I do look like him. He looks like a big tomato, and so do I. I love Andy Reid, though. As long as we talk about Andy Reid, I want a quick story. Because I used to cover football. So, and the first coach I ever asked a question to was at the Eagles training camp at Lehigh University. And I was a fantasy writer mostly, but I also would just write about the game in general as well. But my focus was fantasy. And I believe, I don't remember the players involved, but I think it was Deuce Staley, and the Eagles had a new running back. Maybe it was Brian Westbrook. I can't remember.
Sounds right. Yeah.
And maybe Westbrook was a rookie or something like that. So, Staley was kind of built. He was really solidly built, kind of squat. And he also was, a bigger running back. He weighed about 220, 230. So I thought that the Eagles, with the 49ers for years, always, like with Roger Craig, always had a kind of an undersized fullback, a fullback who could run and catch. And so my first question to an NFL coach was to Andy Reid, and I asked him, was there any chance? Now, nobody had talked about this whatsoever. It was
okay.
And I asked him, is there any chance that you'll move Deuce Staley to fullback this year? And if looks could kill. Now, Andy Reid is like the nicest guy in the world, but he was like, I can see his brain. He's like, who the hell is this dumbass?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, that is funny. That is something else, man.
All right. So back to moving on to our college hoops notebook. Have 3 items today, and they're kind of going along with last week's conversation about the who's in the tournament and who's not. So I'm going to list off 10 teams, and I want to who are safely right now in the tournament. And I want to ask you if you think that there's maybe 1 or 2 that you're still not sure that they're safe. Or maybe you think they're all safe. So the 10 teams are Michigan State, Northwestern, Maryland, Oklahoma State, TCU, Iowa State, Arkansas, Missouri, San Diego State, and Pittsburgh. And I got some injury information that I should pass along that concerns 2 of these teams. Mike Miles practiced yesterday fully, and so did Eddie Lampkin. So it looks like those guys have a really good chance to play tomorrow against Iowa State. And Nick Smith returned on Saturday. He only played 17 minutes, but it's better than not playing at all. And Arkansas's loss to Mississippi State. So Nick Smith is on his way to getting back to 100% and is playing again. So of those 10 teams, do you see anyone that you're still a little concerned about might not be so safe?
So I have everybody in out of those 10 teams. The only thing is I have Michigan State as my last 4 in. So I would be concerned with Michigan State. They're ending to their season. I'm just looking at it right now, their schedule. At Michigan, Indiana at home, at Iowa, at Nebraska, which isn't going to be easy, and Ohio State at home. I just think, I have them last 4 in. At Michigan's going to be a tough one. I mean, it's just Big Ten is just tough in general. But if I had to pick one, it'd be the Spartans.
Yeah, they were going to be one of my two, and I agree. I think if Michigan State in those last 5 games, I think if they go 2-3, they'll still be okay. If they go 1-4 or 0 for 5, then they might be in trouble.
Well, they had a game against Minnesota that got canceled, postponed.
Right.
So they still have that.
And that's kind of unfortunate for them because Minnesota is definitely the worst team in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think they got to get 3 of them. I think they got to get 3 of them.
Okay.
Michigan still thinks they're in the hunt, so that's going to be a huge game for them.
Right. So now the team I was a little worried about, and actually I must have been looking at the wrong schedule when I looked this up because I thought they had more tougher games. But yeah, I guess I was wrong. I was going to say San Diego State, but I thought they had to run the gauntlet, and they really don't. They have at Fresno State, home versus Colorado State. They should both be wins. At New Mexico, that's a tough one. At Boise's a tough one, but then home again against Wyoming. They should, at worst, I would think, go 3-2. So I guess everybody else seems pretty safe. And of course, before I heard the Mike Miles news, I thought, well, TCU's probably still in, even if they didn't win any games. But you don't know, though. But now it looks like TCU is out of the hot water.
Yeah, that's huge.
All right. This question is a little longer and a little harder. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring on 20 bubble teams, and obviously, thank goodness for you, you can see them. But these are all teams that are on the bubble, and half of them are not going to make it. At least half, because if somebody upsets, say, like somebody who's going to be an automatic, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Let's say say Penn State wins the Big Ten. That's probably going to knock somebody out,
Yeah.
So of these bubble teams, pick your top 5 for each category for who do you think is solidly in and who you think, no, they're not making it. So here we go. Here's the list. Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Oregon, USC, Utah, Nevada, Utah State, Boise State, New Mexico, Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Memphis. So give me 5.
That's a list.
Yeah, give me 5 you think are in. Give me 5 you think, nope, they're not out. They're out.
Okay, I got Clemson, UNC, West Virginia. Do I have West Virginia? Yes, I have West Virginia. So I last 4. Or I'm going to give you a couple more just because I'll just go right down the list here. Clemson in, UNC in, Virginia Tech, I have first 4 out. Michigan, I just have out. Penn State, I have my next 4 out. Wisconsin's out. West Virginia in, Oregon in, SC in, Utah out, Nevada in, Utah State out, Boise in, New Mexico out, Florida out, Kentucky out, Auburn in, A&M out, Mississippi State out, Memphis in.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, Clemson, just for being the leaders in the ACC, I know that doesn't matter, but for being in the first place for most of it, they just get zero respect, along with USC. I'm looking at some of these teams, and it's just, and I agree. I mean, on Lenardi has USC as first 4 out. and I think they're a hell of a team.
Well, I mean, North Carolina's been up and down all year, but they really haven't. I mean, even if you look at their stretch just recently, I mean, they've lost games, but they haven't been to bad teams. I mean, they've lost 4 of the last 5, but they lost at home to Pittsburgh only by 1. Then they lost at Duke by 6. The Wake Forest game was not a good one. Wake Forest beat them by 7, but that was at Wake. Then they trounced Clemson, and then they lost pretty handily last night to Miami. So there's nobody on there. There's nobody on there that's chump change. So I mean, this is the team I picked to win it all. So they would be one of the ones I feel confident are going to make it. I think Oregon is going to make it. I don't think the Pac-12 is only going to have 2 teams in the tournament. I just don't. I think Nevada.
I think get 4 in.
Huh?
I think Pac-12 is going to get 4.
Okay. Yeah, but yes, that's a possibility because USC would be the other. I think Nevada's in. I think they're the second best team in the Mountain West. I think they're in. I think the other 3 are on shaky ground. I think Kentucky gets in. I really do. And I think Texas A&M.
I hope they do. Yeah.
I think Texas A&M gets in because there's very few teams that are hotter than them, and they just beat both Kentucky and Auburn. So they should get in over, those 2 teams.
Excuse me, I have A&M in. A&M I have in. I apologize. A&M is in for me. Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, and I'd say the other one, that's tough. It could be Clemson. It could be Memphis. That's tough. But
it's going to really come down to the conference tourneys. Those certain teams that have one win or 2 wins. And when I was at Fresno State, where we played at that time, it was the WAC was the year before, and then it turned into Mountain West, had 2 split conferences, and we won our side. Our side was Hawaii was on our side. They were really good. And the other side was like Utah, remember, with like Van Horn and those guys.
Sure.
And we won our side of the conference, and we go and we have a first round bye. And I think our record was like something like 26-10, something like that, 24-10. And we play, I still remember, we played TCU first round, and we get beat by 20 something. And now all of a sudden we're on the bubble. You don't get in. Go to the NIT.
Huh.
But that was back in '97. So it really is going to come down to these conference tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely could be.
That's
what Mike said last week. Play-in games. It might come down to like a Michigan and Wisconsin. Facing off, and maybe the winner gets in and the loser doesn't. Something like that. Getting
Would you like
back,
to see a change to the conference tournaments?
Meaning what?
Have the top 4 teams get in to the conference tournament. Make it mean something rather than or 6. Have the top 6 teams get in. 1 and 2 get buys. 6 plays 3, 4 plays 5, and then and go that way. But every single team getting in, it's tough. It's tough. The regular season should mean something.
The way they have it structured, though, in the big conferences, a lot of times the top four teams get 2 buys. They don't play. So I think it's structured pretty well. And I'll tell you, I think it keeps interest in for, say, like an Ohio State, who we know is better than their Ohio State, or a Virginia Tech, who we know are better than their record. And it just hasn't come together for one reason or another. Well, Virginia Tech did have some injury stuff. So yeah, I like it. I like it because it still keeps teams interested. And I don't know. I mean, just think about the teams that had to win, like Connecticut, when they won the national championship. They had to run the table just to get into the tournament.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Yeah.
So the teams I think are really, really have to win their conference tournament to get in. I've already mentioned them a couple times. Penn State. I mean, Penn State has just, they really hurt themselves. They've lost 4 of 5, including losing to Nebraska, losing at home to Wisconsin. So I think they're pretty much done. I actually think New Mexico, who Lenardi has in, and I don't get it.
He's going to have to get 4 teams.
They just lost 4 of 5, including, getting, pounded, or not pounded, but they got beat pretty handily by Air Force.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
So I don't understand how you put New Mexico in. He has New Mexico in and USC and Oregon out. And there's no way you could tell me that New Mexico's better than either of those teams.
Yeah, right. Based on what, yeah.
So,
and they lost to Nevada at home. I mean, Nevada's good.
Yeah, well, they lost to Nevada twice.
It's a win you need to have at home. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Another team, I think, Florida, Florida has just really, they were looking like they had, turned things around, and then now they've dropped 4 of 5, including losing to Vanderbilt. By the way, Vanderbilt beat Florida and Tennessee both in the same week.
And they got, and they have South Carolina tonight.
Yeah.
Who's basically quit this whole year.
Well, South Carolina just they beat somebody. They just won their last game. They beat Mississippi, so Mississippi's pretty bad too. So yeah, they would be the teams I'm most worried about on this list are Virginia Tech, Penn State, Wisconsin, New Mexico. Well, Michigan's also in trouble. Florida's in trouble.
Big trouble.
Yeah. So yeah. All right. Well, we kind of beat that one to death. So I was hoping that Jake was going to be with us for this question because we never got his Final Four picks. But I thought it's, given all the upsets that we've had this week.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, Purdue lost, Tennessee lost twice. Who another big team lost?
They've all Tennessee's lost. Kansas has been.
No, somebody else though took it on the chin. I can't remember.
Iowa State, I know, lost, but I don't know if that's considered.
Well, Connecticut. Arizona lost to Stanford, and Connecticut lost.
All about that one.
Connecticut lost against St. Mary's. Lost
at Loyola. Loyola's a good team.
Yeah. Yes. And
they have a good team,
and they have a player I think we're going to be talking about in the near future. But yeah, so I don't quite remember your Final Four the last time you did them, but would you
last time it was, I've always stuck with this Final Four. It's been Houston, UCLA, Gonzaga, and who was my 4th? UConn.
Bama had to be Bama, no?
No, it was UConn.
No? UConn.
That was Houston, UCLA, UConn, and Gonzaga has always been my Final Four.
And you're gonna ride with that? You're a bold man.
No, I'm changing it. Changing it around. I'm allowed to do that.
Yes. That's what we see. We're doing this like every few weeks.
You got to go with the top 2 defensive teams and who can score the ball a little bit. Houston and UCLA will be my top 2. I'm sticking with Gonzaga. Gonzaga is going to be my 3rd team in, and I'm going to go with Bama. That's my 4th.
Okay.
That's my 4th. So that's the UCLA, Houston, Gonzaga, Bama. Got a little bit of everything. My sleeper team can do it. If you want to see a team that is just complete, And of course, the day after I say it, they lose. But I'm going to stick with them as my dark horse is Akron.
Akron. Now,
Akron
Akron just
good
dropped
enough.
2 games in a row.
I know. I saw that. That's at Ohio U, and they shot so poorly and against Toledo at home. Yeah, shoot. I didn't realize they just fell to 4th. And they got to win the conference tournament. You know what? Let me take that back. Out of the top 10 with the sleeper, I'm going to go UConn.
I was going to say UConn was I was going to say that would seem to be the logical choice. So I don't remember what mine was when we did them together, but when I did them with Drew, preseason was Carolina, Gonzaga, Tennessee, Houston. Last time when we revised them, I knew I threw Alabama in there, and I tossed Carolina.
I think you had Purdue.
I tossed. No, I don't think I had Purdue.
No, I
kept Tennessee and Houston. I had Alabama. I don't remember, but anyway, here's where it is now. I'm tossing Tennessee too. I mean they dropped 2 games in a row. This team is just scary, you know, when it's just so, their offense can just be so bad, and that makes them susceptible to losing to anyone. And so now I would have to say Houston's the only one, my original one left in. I got to go with Bama. Even though Purdue lost, I got to put them in there. And now my 4th team would be UCLA. I'm with
UCLA.
you.
Yeah.
Now, dark horse, to me, under our by the way, our dark horse, folks, is we said that you could pick a 5th team that wasn't in the top 10. And so the teams that came to my mind were all Big East teams: Xavier, Creighton, Connecticut. And I'm going to go with the hottest one of the group, especially since we don't know if Zach Fremantle, when he's coming back for Xavier, and they've started to stumble. Also, Sully Boom is a little banged up with a sprained ankle. So, so Xavier's starting to get hit with injuries. So my dark horse, you have Connecticut, I have Creighton, but both from the Big East. So that wraps up our notebook. And now we got some heavy hitters this week on Stock Rising. I mean, I'm talking about guys that are really, really hot. And no one can dispute that for I think just about every one of these guys. And the list is led by 5-star freshman from Arkansas, Anthony Black. You know, the amazing thing about this kid, he is leading the SEC with minutes played per game. He's also leading them in total minutes. And he's almost playing a full game every week. And he has a knee that I don't know how they're managing. I don't know if it's fluid on the knee or what. I don't know. So I don't know if they're draining it or just icing it. But he has a knee that keeps on swelling up on him. And yet he still goes out every night and plays almost 40 minutes. And the kid plays hard. But listen, you know, the one thing, you know, that was kind of lacking for a while for him was scoring. But if you go back over like the last 10 games, I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So he scored 18, 15, 17, 14, 7, 11, 13, 19, and 23 in the loss to Mississippi State. And of course, its scoring is, you know, just an added plus to me with Anthony Black, because he brings so much to the table in terms of hustle, defense, passing. So what are your thoughts on Anthony Black?
Rich, you know, he's 6'7" point guard, and he's super, super young, athletic, can do it all. Like you said, dishes, rebounds, plays tons of minutes, goes to the rack hard. What I am concerned about his shooting at the next level. 31% from 3. And you got to remember, those looks he is getting is literally wide open. I mean, there isn't a person within 6-7 feet of him. They're daring him to shoot the ball.
Yeah,
He's
he is. I was looking on Synergy this morning. He's hardly taken a guarded shot on catch and shoots.
So that's a big concern. Now, with time, can that be worked on? Absolutely, 100%. But he's turning the ball over 3 times a game as well, which is a concern. I like his athleticism. I like his size. I like his age. I think the shooting and the turnovers will take care of itself. I like Black. He's good, but he's not going to be good for another 2-3 years. He's going to, he's tough on the defensive end as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's, one of his biggest pluses. I mean, his athleticism helps him in so many areas. I mean, he'll come out of nowhere, to, get a putback, a point guard, who's crashing the boards and scoring on putbacks. But, also gets a lot of steals and blocks with his length and his speed. Though technique-wise, he has to work on his shooting mechanics. They need work. And also the way he plays defense, he often gets blindsided by picks, and he also tends to not play under control. He's always going for the big play, and so he'll get in foul trouble, or he'll just get up in the air, on a pump fake or something like that. But he's so young, he won't be 20 until next January. But definitely, and this is a topic for another day, but, and we'll be doing this as we get closer to the draft, but I personally believe you can put him in the same discussion. I think it's worthy discussion of Keontae George and Casey Wallace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Casey Wallace. So I think you could put him in that discussion. Like, who would you rather have?
If I would rank a George, Black, Wallace.
Okay. I have them right now on our board. It's Wallace, George, Black. I think Black has the most defensive potential. I think George definitely has the most offensive potential. I mean, I think he's going to be easily a 20-point night guy in the NBA. And then Wallace is kind of somewhere in between them two. He's kind of a mix of the two. So I get, it's all going to kind of depend on, what you're looking for, perhaps. And they're all roughly the same age too.
Yeah. So
our next guy is a guy who we have really high on our board. I mean, first round pick. I don't know if anybody else has Colby Jones of Xavier in first round territory. And I don't know how you feel about that. But to me, Colby is just one of these guys who can do everything. And you really like what's not to like. He's a 6'6" combo guard, but also, he definitely could play small forward. He's an excellent rebounder, but I mean, his numbers lately have just taken off. He's in the last 6 games, he's scored 17 or more, 5 times. And in those same games, he's dishing out assists and grabbing rebounds. Like in his last 2 games, he got 8 rebounds in each game as well. He also grabs your steals. He also blocks shots. Why aren't people as high on Kobe Jones? I guess he's not like he's not an elite athlete, but he's not a bad athlete. And he's an excellent defender as well, in my opinion.
He is so smooth. I'm a big Colby Jones fan. And I think he does things in a very quiet fashion. His game, that's a perfect way to describe his game, is quiet. He does what his team needs to be. There's nothing extravagant about his game, but if he's left open, he's going to knock it down. He can get to the hole. If he has a smaller guard on him, he can post him up. He plays good defense. He rebounds. He is Xavier's go-to guy when they really, really need it. I agree with you on Kobe. I think he is a first round pick, and I think if Xavier makes double, he might be in the top half of the first round, or maybe closer to about 18, 19. But I'm a big Kobe fan. I agree with you on it.
Yeah. He's not an ISO guy. Not that I don't think that's really, Solely Boom is about the only guy that really goes ISO on that team. But I don't think that Kobe Jones, I don't think that's ever going to be a strength of his, but I also don't think he's incapable of doing it. Like I said, I don't think he's an elite athlete, but I think he's a good athlete. So they're the only two things. I mean, if you look at his numbers on the season, he's averaging 15 points a game, and his shooting splits 52% from the field for a guard, 42% from three, 68% from the foul line. That's a little low. You'd like to see that higher. 5 rebounds a game and 5 assists per game. 1.5 steals per game, 0.7 blocks per game for a guard. So yeah, and he really does play, good defense. One of the things I'm really impressed with him is how, unlike Anthony Black, if you watch those two back to back, it's kind of funny because Black really has a lot of trouble with screens. Kobe Jones, like it's like he goes through them. They're like invisible to him.
Yeah.
It's funny. So yeah, and he doesn't have to come back. He's only a junior, but and I think other people have him ranked as a second round player. So if that's the way the NBA reports back to him, he could come back and have a stellar senior year. Might even be in the discussion, kind of player of the year discussion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
So the next guy on our list is Colin Castleton of Florida. And perhaps of anyone on our stock rising list, he might be the hottest of all. Unfortunately, it hasn't turned into wins for Florida. But if you look at his numbers over the last 4 games, 25 and 11 against Vandy, 29 and 10 against Alabama, 25 and 8 against Kentucky, and 20 and 9 against Tennessee. So he's doing it against good competition as well. Unfortunately, they lost 3 of those 4 games and 4 of 5 to be exact. But he is just killing it. And he's top 10 in the SEC for points per game, rebounds per game, blocks per game, field goal percentage, player efficiency rating, win shares, plus minus. And for blocks per game, he's actually 4th in the nation, blocking 3 shots per game. We had Colin on our stock falling list early in the season when Florida just wasn't clicking. And we thought, new coach, new system, new players. For whatever reason, all his numbers are down, but, we're down. But right now he's picked it back up. I still say he was a little more productive last year overall. But some of his numbers are better, some of his numbers are worse. So he was pretty much across the board at the time where he had dropped. So the question is, with any big, does he have, what it takes to play in the NBA? It's always a big question with big. So what do you think about Colin Castleton, Booney?
I like Castleton. He is a lot more athletic than I thought. Big Castleton guy. I think he's going to come around. You got to remember something about Florida here is that, and Castleton, it is his 5th year back. And you got to remember the transfers they had coming in this year. Kyle Lofton, right, from St. Bonaventure.
Yep.
Will Richard from Belmont. Trey Bonham from VMI. They got a highly touted freshman who's in the top 100 of ESPN, Riley Kugel. So they are not necessarily a team that is gelling at all. And Castleton wanted to be a back to the bucket type guy, give him the ball in the low block and let him go to work. That has not been the case this year at all. He's getting the ball at the high post. He's turning and facing the bucket. He has to use his athleticism. So I think part of the problem as far as what we're seeing with Castleton, and again, he's put up some great numbers recently and also dominated Toshibwe quite last weekend or the weekend before in Lexington. I like Castleton. I think he's shooting about 75% from the foul line, a little under that, I believe. I think he'll be a great pick and pop guy. I like his athleticism for the NBA. He runs the floor. I see him being a real good pro. I'm a fan of Castleton.
Yeah, he's definitely. I don't know so much if he's gonna in our next release of the draft board tonight. I don't know if his position is gonna increase much, but in my mind, he's definitely going to move past guys like Shigwe. And the reason is, I have a couple reasons. I like his defense, even on the perimeter. And even when he gets beat, like many good shot blockers, he can make up that difference with his length and his agility and speed to still swat the shot away, even if a guy gets a step on him.
Yeah.
He's a good roller. He's good around the rim. Now, for a jump shooter right now, he's only made 6 of 40 shots. That is not good. That's 15% on jumpers. However, if you look at his shot, it doesn't look bad at all.
Mm-mm.
And if you from the foul line, he's always been. This year he's 73%. That's his career numbers. And in fact, 2 years ago, actually, 2 years ago, he shot 78% from the foul line. And I'm telling you, if you watch a shot, you're kind of like, why doesn't that go in a little more?
Why is it going right?
Yeah. But I definitely think he has a role. He could, he's not going to be a star, but I think he has a chance to make it as a backup.
I agree.
In unlike some of the other guys where, we talked about last week, like Timmy and Shigwe, I think he's going to be ahead of them on our draft board because of some of their deficiencies, especially defensively. All right. So the next guy, I believe, I don't know if he did it or not, but he was closing in on being on Sunday against Temple. He was closing in and being the all-time leading scorer in the American Athletic Conference. Now, of course, that's a new conference. So the current record holder is Quentin Rose from Temple. So it's not like it's a conference that's been around for 100 years or whatever. But I'm talking about Kendrick Davis of Memphis, the little point guard. He's currently, right now, he is 7th in the nation for points per game and 8th in the nation for assists per game. He really has been killing it all year. So it's not, he's been on a hot streak lately, but I don't know if it's much hotter than what he was. But for the season, he's averaging 22 points per game, and the assist numbers are 6 assists per game. Steals, he's a top 10 in steals in the AAC at 2.2 per game. Obviously he's only about 6 feet tall. And his shooting splits 41% from the field, 32% from deep, and 85% from the line. Of course, that's stellar, but the first two numbers are not great. Now, for whatever reason, he has done better in his career. So, for example, this year he's only 32% from three. Last year he was 37%. The year before he was 37% from the field. This year 41. Last year 44. The year before 48. So now he played for SMU those 2 previous years. I don't know if that has a difference, but what do you make of Kendrick Davis? Does the little guy have a shot?
I don't know. He's a volume shooter. He's putting the ball up. It's impressive what he's doing at 22 points a game. That's for sure. He is 6 foot. He's a strong guard as well. As far as the next level, I mean, he's turning the ball over 3.5 times a game right now. He's not shooting the ball extremely well, and he's putting up almost 6 threes a game. I think a lot of the success of Kendrick Davis has to do with the ball is always in his hands. I don't know if this is going to translate to the next level, but the kid sure can score it, and he's proven that at all levels. But right now, I would say no. If I had to, if someone put a gun in my head and said make a prediction on him right now.
Yeah. I would tend to agree, but in 9 straight games, he's scored 20 or more, including 42 against UCF, and that's a solid team. My problems with Kendrick, obviously his size is problematic, but I find him to be not the most athletic guy. I mean, his step back, which he doesn't always use just to shoot. Sometimes he'll actually step back to pass, which is kind of interesting. It's very quick, very effective. But in general, he's not super athletic. He's actually more quick and crafty than he is fast.
Yeah.
Like, he's never been very good in transition. And part of that is because he's little and he's not a great finisher. But he's also not the most fluid guy with the ball in his hands. He's got a good handle, but there's something about him that's a little herky jerky. So, the best he's ever shot, what did I say? It was like 37, 38%. Yeah. For somebody his size, he's also, he likes to shoot from the mid range and from, inside the three, a lot. And he's actually more effective.
Shooter,
and he's more effective from that distance. So yeah, I'll tell you what, we were talking about Appleby last week, and if I had to pick, I would take Appleby. I think Appleby's a better athlete. I think he's a better passer. He's a little bigger, not much, but a little. Also, if you notice with Kendrick, he has, for a 5th-year guy, you think he'd have this ironed out, but he doesn't have the fastest release. He still drops it down. There's a little bit of a hesitation there. So he's hotter than hell, but he's not been very efficient. And I just don't think the NBA is in his future.
Agree.
All right. Another red hot guy. And this guy too has been pretty much red hot all season. But we're talking about Kobe Brown of Missouri. He has scored 20 or more in one. Actually, he scored 17 or more in 7 of his last 8 games, including 21 in the win over Tennessee. He got 20 against Iowa State, 17 against Arkansas, 21 against Florida. So he's been very consistent this year. And so, he's somebody that I've warmed up to. At first I was like, nah, he's I think he's a little carrying some extra weight. And of course the NBA hates that. Mm-hmm. But he's a lot more athletic than he has been in previous years. He was kind of more, relied on power. This year, there's a lot more finesse to his game. And, his shooting splits are fantastic. He's averaging 16.5 a game, shooting 57 from the field, 46 from 3, 79 from the line. Those shooting splits are hard to beat.
Right.
6 boards per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.4 steals. The one number for a 6'8" power forward / center, he plays center for Missouri, basically, is he only averages 0.4 blocks per game. That's about the only number you can say, wow, that's not very good. Everything else is outstanding. So what do you think about Kobe?
Speaking of Missouri, what's going on with this Isaiah Mosley again? I know we're not talking about him,
I
but
think that's a family issue, I believe.
family issue. Gotcha.
I think, yeah, I don't know if somebody's sick or what, but it's not disciplinary. I know it's not disciplinary.
Back to Kobe. Yeah, shoot, you're right. I mean, his numbers are impressive. Almost 17 a game, 57% from the floor, 46% from three, 79% from the foul line. I mean, and he is the focal point of the Missouri offense. The ball is constantly in his hands, and he can really, really stroke it from distance. I like Kobe. I like him a lot. I think he's going to only get better. I think he's going to get drafted in the second round, somewhere late second round. I'm a big Kobe Brown fan.
Okay. By the way, his measurements are 6'8", 250. I don't know if that's an old number, because I do believe he has trimmed down from previous years. You know, even when if you go into synergy, you know, his numbers are outstanding. Even in transition for a big guy, 91st, or actually he's above the 91st percentile in transition, posting up, spotting up, cuts, and as a pick and roll handler, not a pick and roll guy, a pick and roll handler. Now, he doesn't do that often, by the way. So I think, you know, he at the college level, he is a tremendous matchup problem, because he has traits of a wing, but he also has the strength of a big, and he also 6'8". You know,
yes.
But I think the biggest thing that's going to hold him back is defense. You know, right now, maybe if he loses weight, but right now I just don't see a quick guy, and he's also I wouldn't call him a below the rim player, but for whatever reason he's never been a great shot blocker. So when somebody gets by him, unlike Castleton, who can maybe make up the difference and swat the shot against the backboard, Kobe can't do that.
No,
he just basically has to just watch them go by. And that's my concern, you know. And also, too, he's shooting a great percentage from three, but it's on what, like 3.5 attempts per game? 3 point.
Yeah, he's not
3.2. So it's not super high volume. And, you know, his form, if you watch it, he actually shoots a little bit over his right shoulder.
Yeah. And
his guide hand seems to come away real quick. Sometimes it almost looks like he's shooting a jumper with one hand. I think he needs, I mean, you can't argue with the results right now, but I think ultimately that's something that's going to have to change.
Sure.
But defense, I think defense is going to be the thing. If this guy can maybe drop 20 pounds and turn some body fat into muscle, you might be looking at a guy that can play in the NBA.
Yep.
All right. Here's another guy who has somewhat of a similar game, and that's Grant Basile for Virginia Tech. And he too has just been on a roll. Now, I will say he's probably, you know, I mean, he just cracked our top 200, but his numbers over the last 6 games, he scored 24 against Duke, 25 against Syracuse, 33 against Boston College, 33 against Notre Dame. And he's also, you know, grabbing rebounds, blocking shots, and he's a pretty good passer. I mean, that whole Virginia Tech team is really good passing team. And he's top 10 in the ACC for points per game, blocks per game, field goal percentage. And he actually leads the ACC in plus minus. He's truly a pick and pop stretch 5. And that's kind of where it stops. He's mainly a below the rim player. And again, just like Kobe Brown, I'm very much concerned about his defense. But this is a guy who went from being completely off of my radar to now being in our top 200. So what do you think of Grant Basile?
Grant Basile, Wright State transfer. Still has one more year if he wants it. That'll be his sixth. He's had a couple red shirts in there. I agree with you. Similar to Kobe, not as athletic, but
Right.
same type of idea though.
Right.
I like him as a pick and pop. I don't think he's going to. First of all, I think he's going to come back to school. If he does it by some chance, I don't see him getting drafted, but I do see a team picking him up. Type of guy you want on your team. He's going to play extremely, extremely hard. Is a winner. Can shoot the ball. Like you said, great pick and pop guy. But like I said, I hope he does come back to school for his final year. And I think there's a chance he's going to test the waters with going to some camps and seeing where he might end up being. But a lot of it has to do on how Virginia Tech does here down the stretch and get him the notoriety he needs.
Right. You know, he is excuse me, the kind of like the prototypical guy you would expect from Europe. Because
Yeah.
I think he's a better passer than it shows, because they have several good passers on that team already. And he has a really pretty stroke, and like I said, pick and pop guy, you know, catch and shoot guy with a nice stroke. And he is shooting 5.1 threes per game and making 39%. Also shooting 52% from the field. So, and on the season, averaging 16.3 points per game. So he's definitely got a career ahead of him. Can he get more athletic? He's going to be 23 soon. Probably not. But I definitely think this is a guy that's going to hook on with a major European club and make some money.
Yeah, agree.
All right, the last guy on our stock rising list is Tamani Camara. Started off at Georgia. He was a top 100 recruit, 4-star guy, athletic big for Dayton. And, Dayton's had a rough season, a lot of injuries, people in and out of the lineup, but he has been a pleasant surprise. This is a guy whose career has been marred by inconsistency. One day he'll look like a first-round pick, and the next he'll look like, a Division III player. But this year he's been much more consistent, and lately he's really been filling it up. He's in the last 5 games, he scored 17, 26, 12, 31 against Loyola, 16 against Richmond. And he's leading the A10 in rebounding in those same games. 10 rebounds, 15 rebounds, 17, 9, and 4. 4 is unusual for him. And he can do a little bit of everything, being an athletic big. So what do you think of Tamari Camara?
I like Camara. He flies under the radar a little bit because of Deron Holmes on that team.
Right.
And when he's in there, because the first thing you're paying attention to a Dayton is Holmes. But he's been much more productive than Holmes to a certain degree. Holmes, of course, does have the better numbers. But when you're looking at field goal percentage and what he actually does, he's doing everything kind of without the ball in his hand. He's doing all the dirty work. He's doing all the garbage work, the second chances, running the floor. As when Dayton is in the half court, they're looking to get the ball to Holmes. He flies under the radar. I like him a lot. We'll see where he goes. He does have I believe he is done.
He's got one more. No, he's got one more year.
He's one more. I always get screwed up on COVID year. You're right.
Yeah.
He got one more year. I think he will come back. And look for him to be huge next year, because chances are Holmes is done, I believe. So
yeah, good chance for that.
Yeah. So I like him. We'll see what we have to see next year.
Yeah. The biggest thing, and again, kind of like Castleton, you're not quite sure why. He's only shooting he's a better shooter than Castleton right now, at least statistically. He's making 34% of his threes, which is better than his career average. But and his stroke looks decent.
Yeah.
I don't know why more don't fall. From the foul line this year, he's 68%, and from the field, he's 54. He's averaging 14 points per game and 9.3 rebounds. And also, he's a good defender. There's a lot of similarities actually between him and Castleton. So he's good in transition. He could score in the post. He could score on cuts. He's excellent as a roller. He's a left-hander, which is generally an advantage. And he's a good all-around defender. He's switchable. So he's obviously, the big thing over his career has been a lack of focus and leading to some like perplexing things that he does on the court. You're like, where was his head at?
Right.
But so yeah, maybe if he can double down on this year, like you said, maybe we are talking about a second round pick next year.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, now to the bad news, and stock falling, and we're going to start off with somebody. He's not really falling on our board so much, but I'll explain. We're talking about Bryce Sensabaugh of Michigan, and lately he's just been really. I mean, Ohio State in general has been bad, but if you listen to like his last 6 games, 3 of 14, 1 of 8, 4 of 14. Then he was 5 of 7, 9 of 17. That was the one good game he had in there. And then again, 5 of 13. So somehow, for whatever reason, he just hasn't been able to put the ball in the bucket. And he's also, he's been turnover prone, and he's also not a great defender. Of course, we're talking about a 19-year-old kid who has a lot to learn. But I did notice, I believe, during the Ohio State game on Sunday, I believe ESPN, I think they have him as a top 10 pick. And that's where they definitely had him in the lottery, and we don't. We have him in the late teens. And if you look at his season numbers, first of all, he started the season blistering, and they're still really good. He's still 48% from the field, 43 from deep, 81 for the line. He's averaging 16.4 points per game, 5 rebounds a game, but the rest of his game is lacking. So what do you make a sense about? Does he just hit the rookie wall?
I don't know what to make. I've been watching Sensabaugh a lot all year, and that Ohio State team. And from the midway part of the year, for about a good 10 game stretch, they were really, really good, and loved watching Sensabaugh play. I mean, 6'6", 235 that can move.
Yeah.
I mean, who has that type of, stature? Physically, he's just, there's no one else like him. I could see him being something special.
I agree. At least offensively.
So right now, wherever anybody has him on the board with regard to the first round, I agree with. I could see someone picking him in the top 10, and considering what's happened in the last 7, 8, 9, 10 games, whatever it's been, I could see somebody in the late teens in the first round as well. It's hard to really make out what's going on with Sensabaugh. I think it's going to really come down to who's drafting, what their needs are, and who's left, and that's going to decide where Sensabaugh goes. More other than any other type of player. So I could see him going either way, top 10 or late teens. I like him. I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, I like him too, and I just think that as his role has increased, the pressure has, there's not really, Zed Key, ever since he injured his shoulder in that Purdue game, he really hasn't been doing anything much offensively. and they really just don't have scores. I mean, they're playing 4 freshmen high minutes.
Yeah.
Two transfers high minutes. And I think it's just, I think teams have now adjusted. And I think with Sensabaugh, a guy who has a body similar to him is Cam Whitmore of Villanova. The difference,
not quite, but you said similar.
Yeah, I mean, the closest you're going to get in this draft class.
100%.
The difference is Whitmore is much more explosive.
Correct.
Sensabaugh has trouble when he gets close to the basket. He's just not an explosive athlete like Whitmore.
Yeah, I mean, I think Whitmore's much, as far as a prospect, much higher on my board.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I can't, I don't think it's close really between the two. I think Whitmore's a better defender and has potential to, be in the long run, be the better defender. So I just think when you throw in the turnovers, the lack of defense, the not great athleticism, I mean, we're kind of looking like a Adrian Dantley kind of guy here. To me,
Sensabaugh?
You don't think?
No, Sensabaugh has so much more of a nice, pure jump shot. He can really. Dantley was a back to the bucket guy, back you down, and
okay.
But I mean, let's put it this way: if I had a last shot in the game, I would rather have Sensabaugh taking it than Whitmore.
Yes. Right now, yes.
Yeah. So,
but I just think Whitmore's has the potential to be a better all around player.
Agreed. 100%. He's better right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. Sensabaugh's the better scorer, but Whitmore can pretty much beat him in all other departments.
Yeah.
So another 5-star, I think he was 5-star. Yeah, he was. Julian Phillips of Tennessee, and he's basically kind of been just kind of like dragging along all season. Now, I mean, he hasn't scored more than 10 points in 7 straight games. The most he scored is 10 points. Some of those games he's getting like 2, 4, and he's not even rebounding very well in those games. The most over that stretch in terms of rebounds he's had is 4. On the season, he's just, and of course he didn't come in. He came in with the reputation of being a good defender, a good athlete, and he has been a good defender. He's playing 25 minutes per game. And some of his numbers, given that are pretty good. For example, he's averaging about 0.7 steals, 0.6 blocks. That's pretty good. But the rest of his numbers, he's only scoring 9 points per game, 41% from the field, 27% from 3 on only 1.5 attempts per game. He is shooting well from the foul line, 82%. I think, as a jump shooter, he just really doesn't have much going on right now. But what surprised me is, a lot of times he struggles around the rim. And I suppose that might be shot selection or whatever. But he really seems to be basically the only thing he really seems that he could do offensively right now is transition and putbacks. Now that's limited. So I can't imagine Phillips. It just looks like, to me, I can't imagine at this point, I'm having doubts about him coming out.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting about Phillips. Every time I see Tennessee's going to come on TV, I want to watch him just for the point of I haven't felt like I've had a good feel for what I've seen from Phillips. And that still remains today.
Right.
And you nailed it. The only thing he's really, really done is get out in transition and defend. I mean, that whole Tennessee team's defending. But he hasn't shown me anything else. I don't know what he can do. And I think him coming back to school is going to be huge for him. But right now, I don't have much of a feel on Phillips at all.
Yeah,
a little bit of a disappointment.
I just don't think he wants to go the route of the 2 kids that they had the wing, and the point guard Springer, and who was the real good athlete? Keon plays, I forget, is he on Phoenix? Or was he on Phoenix?
Oh, I forget off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
but he was a 5-star. He was a really good defender, and he was a spectacular athlete. But that's about all he could do. And well, he could attack the rim too. So I guess in some ways he was more advanced. But both of those guys 5-star, and they're both struggling big time in the NBA. And so I just think they came out too early, and so
Common tale.
a guy that people have been, despite not having great recruiting rankings, is Baba Miller of Florida State. He's a 6'11", very skinny. He's only about 205 pounds, player from Spain. And, if you talk to people internationally, they were like, why is everybody think so high on Baba Miller? I mean, not that they didn't think he was good, but a lot of people had Baba Miller. He missed the first 17 games of the season because of some benefits that he received. But a lot of people are projecting him before they saw him on the court as a first-round pick. And now that we've seen him on the court, this kid's got a long way to go. I mean, he's a very, very skinny, he does flash, I mean, you do see that unicorn stuff, but I mean, his numbers on the season, his shooting splits 45%. Now, this is a guy who's almost 7 foot, 45% from the floor, 14% from three, 33% from the foul line. He's only playing 17 minutes per game, and he's only played 9 games. So I'm certainly not writing him off. But what I'm saying is, I definitely can't see him being a first-round pick.
No,
and I certainly don't think he should come out.
I sure hope he doesn't. It's a common tale where 6'11", 17 years old. No, excuse me, he's 19 years old. Who's athletic as he is going to get some looks, but you nailed it. Once you see him on the floor, he's doesn't have that coordination quite there.
Yeah, right.
Kind of all over the joint. He's trying to shoot the three.
Yeah,
but
he seems to fancy himself as a wing at 6'11".
Yes. Yeah, but he's going to have to come back. Absolutely. He's only played in 9 games this year. He started 1, so I'm complete agreement. He has a long way to go.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, if Miller would come out in this draft, and it wouldn't shock me to see someone use the 59th pick or the 60th pick. Well, I don't even think we have that many. I think we lost a couple picks again this year. But I could see the last couple of picks of the draft. But it's just, to me, he's so far behind in his development. Even if he went to the G League, if he's overmatched at Florida State, he's going to be overmatched to the G League.
Yeah.
And by far, you say what you want about the G League, but it's still a hell of a lot harder than college.
Well, no question.
So yeah.
No question.
And I don't think you get better by playing way above your head. I think the way you progress is by just pushing yourself. There's a diminishing returns there, and I think if you go too far over your head, you're never going to get better.
Agree with you 100% on Miller. Yeah.
So the next guy on our list is Matt Morrell of Mississippi State, sharpshooter, big, sturdy, strong guard, 6'4". 200 pounds, who you got off to a nice start, this season, ran into some injury problems, and really, though, has hit the skids over the last 5 games, and his numbers for the season, he's just, they're really starting to drag. But Morrell, was actually in our top 100, in the 90s. For a good portion of the year, but he's falling. But listen to these numbers: South Carolina 2 for 9, Georgia 2 for 11, Vanderbilt 4 for 15. So as you can see a pattern here, we're not talking about great defenses. And then the game before that, 1 of 5 against Arkansas. And on the season, Matt is he's a former 4-star or 5-star, I forget. I think he's 4. But his numbers are really now a far cry from where he was. He's a junior, and now they're a far cry from where he was as a sophomore. Last year, 43% from the field. This year, 37%. Last year, 39% from deep. This year, 29% from deep. The only number that's increased, 75% from the foul line last year. This year, 84%. That's an excellent number. The rest of his numbers are pretty unimpressive as well. So there's no way we could keep this guy in the top 100. I don't know if he's still dealing with lingering injuries, not that I'm aware of. I don't know how much you've seen Matt this year, but he certainly looked very promising last year, but it's just not coming together for him now.
I've seen him quite a bit. I'm actually a fan of Matt Morrell. I think part of the reason that he is struggling so bad is the Ole Miss team. His backcourt mate, I believe, just let me see his name real quick. Ruffin, I want to say.
Yes, definitely, yes.
He was a former McDonald's All-American.
Yep.
He was injured. He got hurt.
Yep.
So he has not been as
well.
Productive.
He's also left the team. Deshaun Ruffin. He actually left the team. Last I heard. There was a lot of talk that he just, he came back this year and he said, he just doesn't look like the Deshaun Ruffin of before he was injured. And then I don't know if it was a problem with the coach or he just wasn't happy with the way he was playing, but he has left the team. I don't know if that's permanent or not, but.
The problem with Morrell is when you have your best scorer as primarily a catch and shoot guy, he's going to struggle. Okay. A lot of the shots he's taking are extremely, extremely difficult and things he does not do. I think he's going to get better. I think he's going to show things at these off-season camps and the combines that's going to impress some scouts. Now, whether he gets picked up or not, drafted or not, I doubt it. And I don't think he's going to come back to school because it's going to be mostly the same. I see one of two things happen. I see Morrell declaring, not getting drafted and getting picked up, or transferring.
Right. Yeah. Ole Miss is somewhat of a mess right now. So transferring to, a team that's, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That's a good call. All right. So the last guy on our stock falling is Pete Nance. We've talked about Pete quite a bit. I don't know if there's a lot more to say other than, man, oh man, is Pete struggling? And I bet, I don't live in North Carolina, but I bet you he's the scapegoat for all their problems.
I bet he is.
But he doesn't deserve that. But I mean, in 3 of his last 4 games, he scored 2, 0, and 2. And in those games, 1 of 5, 0 of 7, and 1 of 10. But, I've also seen Pete, something you probably would have never saw at Northwestern, play like lazy defense. I don't know if he's frustrated. We thought because he was a good 3-point shooter at Northwestern, albeit on relatively low volume, that he was going to be a good replacement for Brady Manick, but he's just so comfortable playing in that high post. I don't think Pete is suited to stand in the corner and wait for a pass to come his way.
I was watching the game last night against Miami, and Miami's defense looked absolutely superb. And North Carolina couldn't get the ball in the Baycott. It was almost impossible. And I'm watching the game. I'm like, why can't they get the ball in the Baycott? And about halfway through, I figured it out. No one's guarding Dance. I mean, it was literally collapsing D, paid attention to Davis and Love, and Pete Nance wasn't even given the time of day. I mean, he was given space like Anthony Black from Arkansas, like 6 feet off him. And he had a few open looks. He didn't knock it down, and he's hurting Carolina right now. That game was a extremely frustrating game. Believe it or not, I was actually rooting for Carolina last night. But I mean, they were 3 of 31 from 3 last night, Carolina.
I really
5
think
of 31. Excuse me.
I think it's really time to cut bait for Pete's sake. Excuse that pun, but also for North Carolina's sake, and to play Jalen Washington. Jalen Washington is the 4-star guy who can stretch the floor. He's about the same size as Pete, maybe a little smaller, 6'9",
Yep.
6'9", 6'10". I feel I don't know if I told you this story, but when I interviewed Pete at the Combine, I had interviewed Brady Manick right before him.
Is that right?
I did. And so at the end of the interview, and you can see it on YouTube, I said to him, I knew all we knew at that time was he was transferring if he didn't stay in the draft. And I said, that guy I just interviewed before, the guy with the big beard, there's going to be a vacancy at North Carolina. You might fit in well there. And I don't know if I had anything to do with his decision, but boy, was I wrong. And I just thought, here's a guy who can stroke it. Manick can stroke it. And I don't know if I really think that Pete is so used to playing with the ball in his hands, he's just not comfortable out there on the perimeter as much. He was just such a facilitator. He was kind of like Northwestern's Jokic, and
good call. That's a good call.
And and here at North Carolina, he's kind of lost. And I'm thinking, if you start Jalen Washington when Baycott gets in foul trouble, or when Baycott gets tired, or when Baycott's injured, you bring Pete in and you play him at center. But you can't play him like you play Baycott, because he's not a post-up guy. He's a high post guy.
Right.
So yeah, I don't think Pete. This is Pete's last year, but I don't think I'm pretty darn sure he's not going to get drafted now. But I still think he's going to, because of his family, he will definitely get a chance, and he might surprise us in the long run, because the guy can pass, he can rebound, he can block some shots. He's not a great shot blocker, but he can block some. And he's definitely a perfect European player. But I still think he's going to get a shot. But it's one of these guys, do you remember Kratwig, who played for Loyola when Loyola was really good?
Yep.
Him and Pete had a very similar game. Pete was a better shooter, than Kratwig was, but it's very similar. That facilitator from the high post. Kratwig went over to Denmark, and I know the general manager of the team that he played for. It was Antwerp, and the owner wanted Kratwig, and the GM had his reservations. I had my reservations, and what they found out was they tried to play Kratwig other than the way he was used to playing at Loyola. They wanted to use him as a roll man, a pick and pop man, and stuff like that, like you would an NBA big. And he failed miserably, kind of like Pete is.
Sure. Yeah. His jumpers are right on too. It's just not happening for him. It's just not happening for him. It's like, feel like the basketball guys are like cursing him a little bit. It's like, hey, why leave Northwestern? You could have really.
Yes. Yeah.
Could have really helped them a lot. And,
can you imagine? Can you imagine how good that team would be?
Jesus.
Wow.
Because he fits into that system.
Right. All righty. So the fun part of the show.
Oh God, you're dominant. You are dominant.
I won again. I won again.
It
16.
was a tough slate too.
I know. We all got off to slow starts last week. But I really came on over the weekend. I finished 16-9. Jake was 14-11, and Bunny, you had your first losing week ever.
Yep.
At 11-14, and that means Maverick has actually slid ahead of you in the overall standings.
Unbelievable.
And he hasn't
that might be the best thing for him is not to pick.
And that little shit's not even answering my text, and he's second place in the standings.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, impressive week. He had some great calls last week.
All righty. So tonight, unlike last Tuesday where there was a boatload of games, there's only 3 decent games tonight, starting with Creighton at Providence.
I was asking you about this one earlier, and the question I have is who has Providence beaten this year? Their one good win was a double overtime win at home against Marquette. Other than that, the next best win they have is at Villanova. With that being said, I like Creighton.
I do too. Creighton's red hot. One of the hottest teams in the country. All right, we have Missouri coming off that last-minute miracle against Tennessee at struggling Auburn.
Was that something or what?
Yes.
And a big lead in that game. Missouri, for me, is one of my favorite teams. I love them. I love watching them play. I
do too.
I love the big fella. I like the shooters. I just enjoy watching them play. I'm going to stick with them. Feel like something special is going on with the Tigers. And Mosley's listed as questionable, so who knows? I'm going to go with Missouri.
Yeah, I think Missouri's the better team. They're certainly the hotter team, but Auburn is a hellish place to play. I have to go with Auburn, even though I think Missouri is the better club here. All right, next on the list is 2 bubble teams. This is an important battle. Maybe the loser might just be out. Michigan at Wisconsin.
Man, what a tough one this is. This is it. This is my last chance I'm giving them. I still believe in Michigan. I believe in Howard. I believe in Dickinson. I like the perimeter players. They just have not found it. Look for them to start at Wisconsin to get this win.
I agree. I think Michigan's the far more talented team. Yeah. I mean, Wisconsin's home, but should be an interesting game. All right, moving on to Wednesday night. We have number 1 Alabama against at number 10 Tennessee.
Tennessee is not who we thought they were. Give me Brandon Miller on the road to get one done at Tennessee.
You know, when you and Maverick were complaining about Tennessee, you know, I was like, I didn't want to say anything bad about them because they were one of my Final Four picks.
Right.
But they're not, after losing to Vanderbilt, they're no longer one of my Final Four picks. And it is frustrating to watch that team.
Yeah.
And Alabama's just the opposite. They're pure joy to watch. I'm going with Alabama.
Yep.
All right. We have banged up Xavier at Marquette.
Yeah, Xavier's been struggling a little bit lately. They're missing Freelander and
Fremantle and
excuse me,
and Sully Boom might be out.
And they're not deep to begin with.
No.
I like Marquette at home.
I got to agree with you here. I think even if they were healthy, I'd probably go with Marquette. It's a very close matchup. I have to go with the home team. All right. We have 2 very hot teams here. Indiana at Northwestern.
What a win by Northwestern on Sunday. That was something. It's not going to happen again. Look for a letdown, and I like Indiana to get one on the road.
We're thinking too much alike. I got to agree with your logic. Indiana is just playing really good. Trace Jackson-Davis, Hood Schifino. Whew, what a combo.
Yeah.
All right. We have TCU, who might be 100% for this game at Iowa State.
I'm still a believer in the Cyclones. I like their team. Give me the Cyclones to hold court at home.
I'm going to count on Mike Miles coming back, and I'm going to go with TCU. I think if he's healthy and ready to roll, I think TCU is a far superior team.
Yeah.
All right, we have Arkansas, who's been kind of hanging on. Nick Smith is back at red hot Texas A&M.
I like A&M at home. I don't think they're quite ready yet at Arkansas. I'm a fan of Arkansas. I hope Nick Smith does well. I hope they make a run, but it's not going to be at College Station on Wednesday.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. If Smith had another couple of games under his belt, I would probably go with Arkansas.
Yeah.
All right. Now we have a battle for first place in Big West. Is this the Big West? UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara. First time we've had these teams on there. Both very good teams, Irvine and Santa Barbara. And I believe the winner will be in first place.
At the Thunderdome, UC Santa Barbara. I like them at home. They are very, very, very talented.
Yes.
Give me the Gauchos.
I agree. Santa Barbara's an underrated team, a team you're going to want to watch for if they make the tournament. You will not want to take them lightly. All right. So now we're on to Thursday. Purdue at Maryland. Maryland has yet to lose at home this year.
Tough matchup for Zach Edey. One thing you notice that's actually been going on all year for Edey, and Northwestern really, really exposed it, is he has issues. He has problems throwing out of an aggressive double team. He turned the ball over a few times. Maryland is athletic, perimeter-oriented, and just is absolutely hungry for the ball. Give me the Terrapins to get an upset over number 3 Purdue.
All righty. Another thing Northwestern did was press them full court, which also gave the guards some problems. We've seen this now. Teams are pressing. I'm still going to look for Purdue to bounce back, but it should be a fun game. I mean, like I said, Maryland undefeated at home. All right, Indiana has another tough one. Illinois at Indiana. Both teams are, Illinois is playing pretty well too. I think they're going to be back in the top 25 soon.
Jackson Davis at home. Indiana's playing really, really well. They've surprised me.
Yep. I got to agree. Wouldn't be surprised if Illinois wins this, but man, Indiana's another tough place to play. All right, we have struggling Rutgers, who lost one of their starters, lost Mags. Can't, but one of their forwards for the season, and they haven't won. They've lost 2 in a row now, and they will be at Wisconsin. Rutgers seems to be safe in the tournament, but they are not playing the same over the last few games.
That was a big loss. Not enough talked about how big that loss was. And my prediction is Rutgers is going to struggle down the stretch, and they are going to be one of the first 4 out. I like Wisconsin at home. Wow.
I think Rutgers is going to make the tournament, but I don't know how well they're going to do in the tournament. I got to go with Wisconsin at home too. Rutgers just hasn't won since they lost one of their starters. All right. A revenge game. Tennessee at Kentucky. Now at the time, it seemed like a big upset, but we've seen Tennessee lose to worse since.
I don't know if I'm picking Kentucky in this one. I don't know if I'm picking Kentucky because I like Kentucky or I just dislike Tennessee. Remember last time I picked Kentucky to beat Tennessee at Tennessee.
Yes, you did.
One of my few wins this year. And I'm gonna go again with the Wildcats.
I think that was your first week doing this.
Yeah.
And nobody else picked them. I'm gonna look. I don't dislike Tennessee. I just dislike watching baskets just clank off the rim. 9 out of 10 shots. But having said that, Tennessee's got to get their act together, right? I mean, I'm already picking them to lose to Alabama, and this is, like I said, a revenge game. I'm going to go with Tennessee on the road.
Okay.
All right, so now we have Iowa State, two ranked teams, Iowa State 19 at number 12, Kansas State. Both teams have been starting to show some cracks in their armor.
You're right. They have been. Absolutely right. But at Kansas State, they're going to hold court. Give me the Wildcats at home.
I have to agree. I agree very much. All right. So now we have Oklahoma State's been playing very well at TCU.
I like TCU at home. With or without Miles, he should hopefully be back by then.
Yes. If he's not back on Wednesday, he should definitely be back for this one. I got to go with TCU as well. All right, here's a great matchup on Saturday. Number 9 Baylor at number 5 Kansas.
They had a great first matchup. This time Kansas returns the favor. I like them at home to beat the Baylor Bears.
Yep. I got to go with. I learned my lesson the hard way early in the season about picking against Kansas at home. All right, here's a do or die game for Virginia Tech. Pittsburgh at Virginia Tech.
I like this Pitt team. I like the backcourt. I like what they can do. I like how they play. They had an impressive win at Carolina. I know we always use Carolina as kind of the grading point, which shouldn't be the grading point anymore. But I'm going to go with the Panthers on the road.
All right. I really like this Virginia Tech team. I'm rooting for them to make the tournament. I think they're much better than their record. I'm going to pick them. All right. Now we have red hot A&M at pretty hot Missouri.
Got to go with my favorite team out there. Give me the Tigers to hold court at home.
I'm going to pause for a second and think on this one. Yeah, I'm going to go with the home team, but boy, A&M is really playing well.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Missouri. All right, maybe not a do or die game for Michigan State, but it will be for Michigan.
I like the Wolverines. I'm still a believer in that duo, and I think they're going to start playing better. I got this one. I got the Wolverines winning at home.
I'm going to go with Michigan State on the road. I already picked Michigan once, and they are very, very inconsistent. Wow. All right. We have Nevada at Utah State. These games in the Mountain West are going to be super important.
I'm a real big fan of this Nevada team. I think they're really, really good. Very, very complete. The big fella Fuller is really giving them something. I didn't expect them to have a big man like him to be so dominant, so good. Give me Nevada on the road.
Yeah. Utah State is a tough place to play. And the very good offensive team. But as I said, I think Nevada is the second best team in the Mountain West. I'm going to go with Nevada. All right. Tar Heels at NC State. And NC State is the only ranked team in this matchup.
It's time for Carolina to do something. And it's going to happen on Saturday. Give me the Tar Heels to go in to the Wolf Den and take down NC State.
I got to agree with you.
Wow.
I know we're agreeing way too much. All right. We have, I agree. I mean, I think North Carolina has been underachieving most of the season. I think they've definitely shown some life, though they did get beat. Miami pretty much led that game from start to finish, but Miami is a really good team, maybe the best team in the ACC. So, all right. So, it's that game, by the way, North Carolina, NC State, is going to come down to the big guys. DJ Burns, and because I think the guards are going to cancel each other out, and so I think Baycott's got the advantage on Burns. who's been playing very well. But all right. So now we got Memphis. And I'll tell you right now, if they win this game, they're in the tournament. They can just pack it in for the rest of the season if they win this game. Memphis at number 2, Houston.
I got Memphis already in, and Houston's going to be a little too much at home. Give me the Cougars.
Yeah, I would think longer and harder if it was at Memphis. All right. Iowa at Northwestern. Apparently both teams are safe in the tournament, but who knows?
Iowa's not the same team they are on the road as they are at home. Not even close. Give me Northwestern.
I gotta agree with you again. This is an offense versus defense matchup. I think they're pretty evenly matched, but Northwestern has been very impressive of late. All right. Lastly, next Monday night, number 5 Kansas at number 22 TCU, and TCU should be healthy.
Shoot, TCU won convincingly at Lawrence the first time they played. Big revenge for the Jayhawks, but not this Monday. TCU to whole court.
Wow. I thought you were going to say Kansas, and I thought we'd finally have one different.
I know.
I got to agree. And I went with TCU in all 3 games. That's how much I like this team with Mike Miles.
I think I may have. No, I think, no, I left him out one.
We disagreed once.
Yeah.
TCU was on this 3 times, and so the first time we disagreed when they played Iowa State. You went with Iowa State at home, which makes pretty good sense. All right, so now we'll move on to the mailbag. We only have one question, and Andy wants to know: is there any chance that Matt Painter doesn't win Coach of the Year? What do you say, Bunny?
Painter's doing a hell of a job. There's no question about it. I mean, with what he has and how they're playing right now, he is definitely the front runner. But my Coach of the Year is Randy Bennett at St. Mary's.
Good
job
choice.
He's doing right now with that team. They're a solid team. There's no question about it. But I don't know if they should have a 2-game lead on the in the WCC. They're going right now for a 5 or a 4 seed, probably more like a 5 seed. And who they have and what he's doing, he's far overdue for a Coach of the Year. I'm going to go Randy Bennett over Painter.
Yeah, I have to, I had to pick Painter, but if I'm going to pick somebody else, I'll just throw a few names out there. How about Jerome Tang of Kansas State?
Yeah, that's another good one.
Or how about TJ Otzelberger of Iowa State? I mean, these guys are kind of working miracles with, teams that we didn't really think much of. And I'll give you another name.
Steve Alford is doing a hell of a job at Nevada with half that team transferring.
That's true. But how about Shaka Smart? It looks like the Marquette's going to win the Big East.
That's a good call, too. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, there's some other names. But, Andy, to answer your question, I think Matt Painter's going to win it. But if any of those guys that we mentioned, I'm right there with you about Randy Bennett too. If they can dethrone Gonzaga, that's quite the achievement. And they're on their way to doing that. So yeah, I think there are some other good choices. I don't think it's a lock. So thanks for that question, Andy. And if you'd like to send us a question, please email to admin@hoopsprospects.com. We will also take questions via social media on Twitter @HoopsProspects, on Instagram @TheHoopsProspects, and on Facebook @HoopsPros. I want to thank all our listeners. I want to thank our guest, Mojave King. We will be back next week with a new stock report, a special guest, and much more. And if you ever miss an episode, you can get caught up at hoopsprospects.com. Booney, before we go, do you have any words of wisdom?
I mean, what wisdom? I don't know if I get too far with wisdom, Rich, but, what an exciting time of the year. Every game is meaning something. You can smell and feel the intensity as we march towards March.
Yeah,
And I like it a lot, but that's about as wisdom as I'm going to get right there.
we have about 2.5 weeks left before the conference tournament starts. Most teams only have about 5 games left. So, yeah, it's crunch time.
100%. Exciting
All right.
times.
Thanks, Bunny.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
hey, thank you, my friend. Enjoy
All
it.
right, we will
As
talk
always.
next. We will talk next week. Maybe we'll talk about basketball.
Maybe. All right, pal.
All right, take care.